then helped her into a painting smock and ordered Goldie to place. The sweet retriever dropped at Zoe's feet at the command, watching patiently. With Zoe being too young to qualify for a service dog, Nick had trained her himself, with some help from a friend who had knowledge about teaching service dogs. Goldie was now skilled to sense when Zoe might lapse into a seizure and alert Nick in time for him to help his daughter from falling and hurting herself. Sometimes she fell fast, though, and if that happened, Goldie would position herself to buoy Zoe's fall. Then she'd remain by Zoe's side and lick her little leg. Nick was convinced Goldie loved Zoe completely and wholly, exactly how Nick loved his baby girl. Zoe dipped her fingers in the green paint.
"I'm gonna make the trees."
"That will be very pretty."
"And our horses."
"Perfect." Thunder rumbled again, and the clouds grew soggier. The lake wind was chilly and damp, and the firs, spruces, and pines rustled. The painting paper whipped upward on easels, and kids squealed, including Zoe. The Lady of the Lake ferry cruised down the 50 miles of Lake Chelan toward the Cascade Mountains. The peaks glistened with early snow that hadn't reached the valley yet. Overhead speakers warned tourists that the weather was getting rough on the river and the ferry would only travel once more, weather permitting. The only way into Stehekin was by plane, boat, or on horseback. This storm could easily strand tourists, and there wouldn't be enough lodging for everyone. Not to mention, they'd have no real way of communicating unless they owned a satellite phone, which most tourists did not. Very few in Stehekin had them. Business owners, mostly. The horse outfitter he owned, Cascade Stables, had horses out on trails with guides. They provided day rides to loop rides, camping adventures, and family picnics. He used his sat phone to check in with his employees and to make sure they were cutting the trip short, which would mean refunds or rain checks. He stepped out from under the tent, a few feet away from Zoe, and watched her paint. Goldie was alert but lying quietly at her feet. Candy, his former main trail guide, now manager, answered. "Hey, boss." "Checking in. Storm is coming fast. Ferries are taking the last call." "Yeah, we felt some rain, so we headed in, and I rain-checked them." "Good deal. Take care of the others for me, would you?" "Say that again? Storm's messing with your reception." He turned and glanced at Zoe, who was now dipping a paintbrush into a little plastic cup. He repeated himself, then ended the call. Candy had been with him for about 4 years. A year younger than his own 33, Candy had become the manager and his right hand around the stable since Penelope's death. He'd fallen off the deep end, and she'd picked up the business slack and helped with Zoe. She hadn't minded, said it kept her busy and gave her and her husband Garrett good parenting practice for when they had their own family.
"Excuse me,"
a woman said, and pointed at his gray t-shirt with his business logo printed in the center.
"Do you work for Cascade Stables?"
"I own it, yes." She grinned, then pointed in the distance to a little boy standing with a man Nick assumed to be the child's dad.
"My son wants to ride horses before we leave, and I heard you start at age 3. Do you think we could set something up?"
"I'm sure we can." He patted his pockets and realized he'd left his business cards at home. "I was going to give you the number, but I don't have a card." Instead, he quickly gave her directions, operation hours, and prices. No Wi-Fi in Stehekin except for at the Stehekin Lodge, which only had limited access.
"Let me write that down or I'll forget. I have a notebook in my purse."
She released the strap from her shoulder and unzipped her bag, and he glanced over at Zoe painting. The purse clattered to the ground, diverting his attention as the contents spilled out.
"I am so clumsy. I'll probably fall off a horse within 5 minutes."
She kneeled down, and Nick followed suit. He handed her a pen and a set of keys. "We give a small learning course for beginners. You'll be fine," he said.